A Darker Shade of Magic is a story about Kel, who can travel between 4 different worlds: Black London, White London, Red London, and Grey London. In this video, I'm going to talk about 5 things that I loved about the story and 5 things that I hated about the story. The majority of this video will be spoiler free, and I will let you guys know when the spoilers start. Number 1 is the overall simple setup of the world, the plot, and the characters. It was very easy to get into the characters, to get into the world, to get into the magic, to get into the plot, because it was just so simple. I could tell you in just one simple sentence what the entire plot of the story is, and it made the story really easy to digest. The second thing that I loved was that the characters were really interesting and compelling. Your 2 main characters were very different from each other. One was a little bit more rough around the edges, while the other one was pretty soft, and the 2 together really complemented each other. I got really invested in the characters really fast because they were dynamic and interesting in both very different ways. Number 3 was the magic. It was treated as if it was alive, like it was a living thing. I especially loved its relationship with each city, with each London being different, depending on the attitudes of the people, or maybe it influenced the attitudes of the people. Number 4 was the climax. Now, I'm not going to give away any spoilers, but I am going to say that it was really fun, really well built up, and I didn't feel like things were like a cheap shot or something. I got really involved in the ending and really couldn't put down the book once the climax started. Finally was the ending, and again, no spoilers, but I thought the ending was extremely satisfying. They took a lot of the different plot points that had been going on, a lot of the side plots, and just really wrapped things up very, very nice. If you're interested in buying this book, it would really mean a lot to me if you support me by using the Amazon affiliate link in the description below. The price of the book doesn't change, but I get a small, very small portion of the profit. The first thing I didn't like was how there were times throughout the story that I felt like I was getting something set up literally right before I needed it, and it felt almost like cheating. Like there would have been a lot easier ways to just set this item up earlier and make me feel like I was part of the story. But instead there was like this whole scene that didn't really seem important except to reveal this solution that they would need for the next scene. I would say that these moments were slim throughout the story, but one of them in particular was a big deal to me, and it's the one that really brought this to my attention, and the other ones were a lot smaller. The second thing that I didn't like was about 2/3 of the way through, there started being a lot of complications to the plot. And that in itself wasn't a bad thing, but it felt like the complications were kind of pointless because the solution would almost be handed right away. So the reason this is a big deal was because at 2/3 of the way through the story, you're leading into the climax. And so I went into the climax thinking, oh, they're just gonna come up with a way to fix it and solve the problem. And it took away from some of the tension in the climax. Here's my spoiler warning. The next 2 items are both going to include spoilers. So if you care about that, this would be the point to drop off. If you don't care about that, stick around. My third thing that I had a problem with was that magic got a POV, specifically the black magic. And in theory, I like that idea, but I didn't love the execution. And the big reason was because we spent so much time in Magic's head. We got to see all the chaos that black magic was doing. We got to see kind of how it worked and how it took over people. And then when it got down to the final climax, it just disappeared. And all of the chaos disappeared with it. Everything basically was just written off as it just went back to normal. It felt like we got this all of this time put into all of this chaos that it was sowing just to have it mean nothing. And that was really, really disappointing. Side note, to kind of go along with that, there was another POV that it was just a chapter POV that that character was hardly even in the story, and I honestly don't know why, and it never panned out, and that's super annoying. My last one, throughout this story, Lila has the ability, as well as Kel, to move through the Londons, and we assume, or are led to assume, that it's because Lila's using the black magic. And I guess that could be a wrong assumption, but at the end of the story, Lila doesn't have the stone anymore, and she's just able to walk through as if she herself is like Kel. And I don't know if I have a problem with that or not, but what I didn't like is that throughout the story we have these rules set up, like only someone like Kel can travel through. And Lila, up to that point, has not shown any ability at all with magic. They have hinted, like pretty blatantly, that she does have potential for magic, but she does not actually have magic or use it or anything. And so to me, that feels really, really out of place, that she could just travel alongside Kel when she doesn't have this stone. And I hope that that is answered in the second book, but personally, I see it as a flaw in this book that she was just able to do it, especially when her having magic never played out. There could have easily been just a moment in the climax where Lila used a little bit of magic, and it would have left me feeling like, oh my gosh, maybe she's Antari. But instead, I kind of feel like it was just bad writing. And I hate to say that because I actually really liked this book a lot, and I think that there was a lot of good writing, and I hope that this is like wrapped up or answered in the second book, but as of right now, it doesn't feel that way. I'd love to hear your comments of what you thought about this story if you've read it. If you haven't read this story though, you should check out the read-along series that I did for A Darker Shade of Magic and read along with me. Let me know your thoughts once you're done. And I'll see you guys next time.